Gerrymandering is another name for redrawing voting districts in order to win an election. It's named after the Massachusetts politician Elbridge Gerry, who made the Boston district look like a salamander in order to gain a political upper hand. Charles Boycott was an English landowner who refused to lower his rent and started evicting his workers who rented his land. The workers turned on him and stopped working and, well, boycotted everything Boycott. The name stuck. Jules Leotard was a 19th century Frenchman who basically created the modern aerial trapeze show. He designed a specific outfit to show off his physique and create a tight fit so no loose clothing would get caught on something and potentially lead to his death. Adolphe Sax was trying to improve the bass clarinet in the 1840s and eventually created the saxophone. Ignacio Anaya created a dish of tortilla chips, cheese, and jalapenos on the fly for a group of U.S. Army wives in Mexico in the 1940s. They loved it so much that his nickname Nacho stuck with the dish from that point on. An English lieutenant named Henry Shrapnel created a cannonball with lead bullets inside of it. It was designed to explode above the enemy and rain down shrapnel from every direction. These were the bombs bursting in air that you may remember hearing about in the Star-Spangled Banner. The Michelin brothers not only created a world-renowned tire company, but they also created a European traveler's guide that gave hotels and restaurants up to 3 Michelin stars. Adidas was named after the co-founder Adolf Dassler. Adi is supposedly a nickname for Adolf, and he added the first part of his last name to create the name for the brand. Church's Chicken was named after George W. Church and has nothing to do with the place of worship. King Gillette created a relatively cheap safety razor in the early 1900s, and now it's part of the Procter & Gamble family of products. Most people think of a tree full of elves when they think of Keebler, but Godfrey Keebler was a real-life baker who was part of the United Biscuit Company of America, which eventually turned into a baking conglomerate that took on the name Keebler. Henry J. Heinz started the Heinz Company and picked the number 57 because his original idea was to have 57 different flavors of sauce. He made nowhere near that much, but liked the 57 and kept it. Charles Ponzi did not create the first ever Ponzi scheme, but his name stuck with the con after he stole a bunch of money through a U.S. postage scam. Miranda rights come from the famous case of Ernesto Miranda versus the state of Arizona, when Miranda was interrogated for a long period of time not knowing that he had a right to an attorney. The Jacuzzi brothers started off in the military propeller business, and then eventually became a leader in the whirlpool industry. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was created in the late 1800s by Charles Dow and Edward Jones. They were trying to show an average of major companies as a stock indicator. Dow was also one of the founders of the Wall Street Journal. James Brunel was the 7th Earl of Cardigan, who led the famous Charge of the Light Brigade. He created special jackets for all of his troops that later transformed into sweaters that became wildly fashionable. The Humphrey Brothers Clothing Company became famous for their sportswear and created Umbro. I don't know about y'all, but I used to live in Umbros when I was younger. Royal Burpee was a physiologist in New York City who came up with a small part of a larger fitness test in the late 1930s. You were only supposed to do 4 at a time. That obviously didn't stick. As always, I want to know what I left out. Leave me a comment and let me know.